Today, we're talking about the importance of habits and routines. I also want to share with you the 60/40 rule because I believe it's going to help you define your routines and habits to have an amazing year. Welcome to the Strategy Rewind Podcast. I am your host, Miguel Lebron. Here at the Strategy Rewind Podcast, we look at the relationship between goals, strategies, belief, and objective breakthrough. I'm so excited for today's episode. Hey, if we haven't met before, thank you for being connected here today. I am a father, a leader, an author, a strategy coach, and mentor, and I partner with individuals who have a goal but need a strategy. And in this podcast, we focus on the strategy to help you have a breakthrough moment. I'm of the belief that we cannot manage time, but we can manage our emotions. And we can also manage our actions. You see, we cannot manage time because it continues moving. It continues going. Time doesn't send anyone an invitation. It doesn't say, here, I'm going to start at this time. It just starts. It goes. That's it. It exists outside of us, right? I mean, we're born and time has been happening for years of years, and it keeps going after we've gone. And so the question is, if I can't manage time, what can I manage? You and I, we are responsible for managing our actions and our emotions. And when we look at the word emotion, it starts with the letter E, which means energy, and motion means movement. And so we have to look at what exactly is moving us, what is bringing us to the point of taking action. This calls back to our purpose. This calls back to our why. And in order for us to actually see the fulfillment of our purpose, see the fulfillment of our why and our vision come to life, we then have to talk about our routines. We have to talk about our habits. Habits matter immensely. I remember when we brought our first daughter home after she was born, I remember my wife and I, we didn't know a thing. I mean, who does, right? Who knows anything when they have a firstborn? Once you have the second, the third, you kind of like, okay, I see what's happening here. But that first child, we just don't know. And I remember that we brought her home and it was just that learning curve. But once we learned her cry and her whine, and we understood these little parts of the child, what happened next was that we were able to establish a routine of feeding time, of nap time, of play time. All of these routines help build this child, and that eventually is going to become an adult. And you and I are already adults. Most likely you that are listening are already an adult, and you don't possibly have anyone holding you to 2 o'clock nap time. That's something that if you want to take, you have to take. And nobody is telling you to remember to play or remember to brush your teeth. No one is telling us that. This is something that you and I have to remember to do. And so we have to then go back to routines, and we have to go back to habits. And habits are super important because when we talk about where we want to be, what we're doing right now says more about where we're actually going to be. What we're doing right now, the habits and the routines that we create right now give to us information of if we are or are not heading into the right direction. So here are some strategies that I've applied that have helped me with just getting better at establishing routine, at establishing habit. Number one, establish rules. What does this mean? Well, when we're creating a routine, when we're creating a habit, the first thing we have to do is create a guideline or principles by which we can actually move in these routines. And we also have to be realistic. We have to be realistic. The idea that I'm going to go to bed at 10 p.m., I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., maybe that's realistic for you. But for other individuals, it's not. Maybe going to bed at 2 a.m. and waking up at 10 a.m., maybe that's more of your vibe. And that's okay. When we talk about strategy, strategy is a defined number of steps to get us to an objective breakthrough. So we have to understand and be realistic with ourselves. Okay, this is what's going to work for me. Maybe you have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, go to school, or you're also a stay-at-home mom. Whatever you're working with right now, in order for you to create a healthy habit, in order for you to create a productive habit and routine, you have to create those parameters, those rules that work for you. So establish those guidelines and be realistic, be specific. Really take your time on thinking of what exactly is it that I need to do every day. And at what time does this happen? Whatever it is that you do, be realistic with yourself and say, okay, I can actually go to bed earlier. I can actually wake up earlier. Or maybe I can sacrifice staying an hour up later because I know that I have that time in the morning. Whatever it is, you have to create those rules and parameters for yourself in order for your routine to grow, in order for your routine to actually take flight. One of the worst things we could ever do is compare ourselves to anyone else. So number 2 is to make a to-do list, but don't do it to be like anyone else. We cannot implement a routine trying to imitate. It ain't gonna work. So when you're talking about setting the rules and setting the guidelines for what your routine is about to be, don't think about, hey, you know what? I see The Rock, he over here eating 50,000 pancakes and still crushing it on leg day. That's The Rock. He walking around with a gym. That's a different, he's just doing rock stuff. You're not The Rock. I'm not The Rock. He's doing rock stuff. Let him do rock stuff and you do things within the scope of where you are. So as you create your to-do list and as you create the rules and parameters for your routine, don't think about, well, this person is doing that. That's them. Your purpose is different. Your mission is different. And there may be some likeness on experiences or likeness or similarities in gifting, but you are uniquely you, and don't limit yourself trying to figure out, how can I be more like you fill in the blank. It ain't gonna work. You're gonna hit a roadblock. You're gonna hit a wall. You're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna get irritated. And you're gonna ask yourself, how come it doesn't work? And worst of all, you may think that it's you, but it's not you. It's that you're looking in the wrong direction. Number 1, establish the rules of the game. Here's what's important for me. Here's where I want to invest my time, my energy, my money. And speaking of money, when we talk about routines and when we talk about habits, one of the things that I've tried to implement is the 60-40 rule. I'll share it with you in just a moment. One of my favorite comedians is Jerry Seinfeld, and he has this joke where he talks about the battle between nighttime Jerry and daytime Jerry. And in the joke, he establishes the premise that oftentimes nighttime Jerry does things without even thinking about daytime Jerry. And of course, daytime Jerry wakes up to all of the consequences of the decisions that nighttime Jerry made. You know, this is the battle that we face consistently. I know you've felt that battle, and I know I've felt that battle as well, where there are things that I want to do now, but it doesn't benefit who I want to be. So number 1, establish the rules of the game. Establish the rules, the parameters of your routine. What needs to happen at what time, what way. You know your commute. You know the things that are you're dealing with, that are your responsibility. And so set the parameters clear. Be specific. Be realistic with regards to what those rules are. Number 2, make a list. Don't try to imitate anyone else's list. Figure out your to-do list. What's important to you and what are the things that you have to do on a daily. Now, here is the 60-40 rule. 60% of your time is going to go to the things that you have to do every day. Like you have to brush your teeth. Like you have to take a shower. You have to eat breakfast. You have to eat dinner. You have to take your commute. You have to take the kids to school, go to soccer practice, right? You have to remember to go to church and give time to the events and resources, right? You have to remember these things. So 60% are those things that you have to do. But now we're left with 40%. And the 40%, I like to divide it in two parts, 20% and 20%. Again, I'm explaining to you the 60-40 rule. So 60% is the things you have to do. You got to go to work, got to go to school, got to do these things, the things that you got to do. And then the 40% is those things that we divide into. The first 20% are the things that are going to help you get anchored. That may be a moment of meditation, that may be working out, that may be reading, that may be playing video games, that may be, I don't know, doing a crossword puzzle, whatever it is that it's your thing. It's a you moment. You have to figure this into your routine, into your habit. Oftentimes, we are so caught up with the 60%, and we even sacrifice this 20%. That moment that has to do with you, with meditating, with prayer, with reading, with just taking that moment to get anchored. 20%. Give yourself that. But now you're left with another 20%. That other 20%, on my list, it's business, right? How can I increase business awareness? How can I continue to put out content? How can I continue to drive revenue? How can I do that? And that's the 20% for me, but maybe you're not in the business mindset. That's okay. What's the 20% that you can invest on becoming a better you? Becoming a better you. This has to be forward. This has to be forward thinking. It has to be about the future, the you of tomorrow. That has to be thinking of that. The first 20% is me right now. Well, right now, I just feel like playing a little Xbox and please give me some space. Great, fantastic. Right now, I just feel like reading a good book. All right, fine, fantastic. Go right ahead. But then the next 20% has to be, how can I better myself for tomorrow, from where I'm going? That may be studying. That may be picking up a new trade. That may be picking up a new skill. For me, it's how can I continue to diversify? Rather it be doing videos, doing this podcast, rather it be doing the weekly blog, or rather it be coaching other individuals. Those are the things that I think about in that 20%. And that, my friends, is the 60-40 rule. And those are the strategies that I use to really try to give shape to my routine and my habit. Number one, establish the rules of the game. Number two, create a to-do list. Don't imitate anyone else's. Focus on yours. And number three, the 60-40 rule. Let's move the conversation forward. It's important that you would have a breakthrough moment with creating effective routines and effective habits. To ensure that, I've brought on today the CEO of the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf, Jose Escobar. Jose, thank you for being on the program. For those who aren't familiar with what you're doing, let them know about yourself.
Good morning, Jose Escobar. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I am married, happily married to my wife, Katie. I have 4 wonderful children. It's always a full house, and it's always a lot of activity going on here, from 14 years old all the way down to 10 months. 1 boy, 3 girls. So professionally, I'm the sales director for a global martial arts company out of Chevy Chase, Maryland. Been doing that for quite some time. I think going on 6 years now. Started out coaching martial arts school owners on how to improve their bottom line. If they're making $2,000 a month, I teach them how to go to 4, then 6, then 10, and beyond 20, and so on and so forth. So I started out coaching. I ended up progressing into the sales. I've been in sales for about 22 years, from the insurance side to the banking side to eventually the business consulting side of martial arts schools, and that's my day job. So I worked about 50 hours a week, and I decided at some point on the side I was going to start a business. And I launched about a year ago the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf. And the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf it started out as a community on Facebook. So there is a Facebook group that I welcome everybody to join. It's free. It's a little private community. You can't really see the content unless you're a member. So I put in a lot of value in there. I interview authors, I interview entrepreneurs and various things. Always putting in value as much as I can. Great community of like-minded folks. And the whole idea was, the vision for that was to eventually expand into digital programs, digital courses, right? Specifically for the entrepreneur, whether you're a beginner, a entrepreneur, or you are a entrepreneur already, or you're a high-level entrepreneur, and everywhere in between. Eventually, I was going to put out programs for these individuals to help them level up and move the needle, both personally and professionally. And so anyways, I finally launched my first digital program, which is what we're talking about. And it's on morning and evening routine mastery. And I'll give you back the floor, but that's going tremendously well right now.
Most individuals are familiar with a morning routine and the importance of having one, right? Eating breakfast and doing those type of things in the morning. But you tap into something which is the nighttime routine. Talk a little bit more about the importance of having that nighttime routine and how that plays a factor with our daytime routine.
Yeah. So first of all, let's back up 1 second. And what you said, we all hear about the morning routine, right? If you have not read this book, I highly recommend it. The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Probably the best book I've ever read in terms of routines and how you attack the morning. If you win the morning, you win the day. We all have heard of it, at least most people. And if you're an entrepreneur, I know you've heard of it. But just because you've heard of it doesn't mean you're doing a bloody thing about it, right? So one thing is learning something, another thing is applying something. So let's just be real there. So in terms of the people who've heard about it, now is the time. There's no better time to start a morning routine than today, right? Kind of like, when is the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. But the next best time is today,
Right.
if you haven't done it. So same thing with the morning routine. Start one. I can't tell you how amazing it's going to be and change your life, in your personal life, professional life. So to your question, the evening routine is the magic behind the morning routine. And nobody really talks about it. And they kind of like mention it in passing sometimes, but it's not really a thing. And one of my missions was to bring the whole package to the world. And for the last 3 years, I've been implementing my own morning routine and evening routine that's been structured and systematic Monday through Friday without fail, zero compromise, zero excuses. And it has literally changed my life. I used to be just okay across the board. I'm a better father. I'm a better husband. My spiritual life is at its peak. It's amazing. My health, I lost 34 pounds in the last couple of years, and I'm feeling better than ever. I'm working out all the time. Emotionally, I feel great, feel happy, joyful. Intellectually, I'm stimulating my mind like most people don't. To be frank, my financials are in order. I'm managing my budget on a daily basis, monitoring where my money's going, all that good stuff. My avocation, my job is at an all-time high. I got promoted, sales director, as I told you. I launched my business. I have hobbies on the side. I'm martial arts. I'm progressing there. I'm going all the time. So my whole life, the 10 life domains that we all have, right, are firing on all cylinders. There's always room for improvement, and I haven't arrived. But I'm saying that the morning and evening routine speaks directly to that. So specifically the evening routine, the best morning routine starts the night before. Mm-hmm. And that's very, very key. If you are planning your schedule for the day the night before, right, you are prepared. You go in with expectation. You're excited to wake up. You actually sleep better because you have less on your brain. You've removed the to-do list. You've removed your worries through something I like to call journaling, right? The night before. So the evening routine has all kinds of powerful things in it that are going to really position you to win big the next day.
You just provided some amazing insight here today, Jose. The fact that our nighttime routine plays a factor on the success of our daytime routine. But for those who are listening and want to apply and maybe even expand upon their nighttime routine, maybe they have never even thought about it, what are some strategies they could implement to start doing it today?
So first and foremost, you got to commit. You got to say to yourself, I'm going to commit to starting a morning routine and an evening routine. And you got to start with the triple S that Jim Quick talks about all the time in his book, Limitless. He talks about small, simple steps. James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits as well. Small, simple steps. So don't start big. Don't get lofty and say, I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. every single day and do 10 things in the morning. And I'm going to go to bed at 9 p.m. bright, super early and do 10 things at night. Don't start doing that. I mean, I do that. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I go to bed by 10 p.m. and I have 10 things at night and 10 things in the morning. And my morning is about 3 hours of things that I do. where before anybody's even awake, and then I do 10 things at night between 8 and 10, 2 hours before I go to bed. And I still find time to get my things done with my family and maintain my marriage and maintain my spiritual life and my health and do some hobbies and perform at my day job and still run my business. A lot of people talk about, oh, I'm so busy. Busy is very different than productive. Who cares how busy you are? We all have this like thing that makes us feel good, the saying we're busy. Who cares if you're busy? Like, that doesn't matter. What matters is, are you being productive? Are you moving the needle? Are you progressing? Are you getting the results that you want? Are you just setting a bunch of goals, or are you a goal hitter? There's a difference. So this, I would recommend, you start with a commitment. I'm going to do it. 2, you get a list, some kind of a tracking sheet like this. And as you can see, this tracking sheet, I know exactly what I do in the morning. I know exactly what I do in the evening, and I literally initial it. Like, now I'm not necessarily doing this all the time because it's in here. I've been doing it for 3 years. And it evolves. It evolves over time. Your morning routine is never going to stay the same, because as your life progresses, you add things, you remove things, you do things that are specific towards your goals. So have a tracking sheet to hold you accountable. I would say number 2. Number 3, identify what your goals are. Know what your why is. And they say the whys know their whys. Because when you feel like giving up, when you don't feel like waking up, you're going to not wake up, right? But the only way you're going to follow through on what you committed to is if you have a strong why. So know your why, identify your goals. What are your top 3 personal goals? What are your top 3 professional goals? Have those identified, and make sure whatever you have packed in your morning and your evening, the bookends of your day is what I like to call it, make sure they speak to those bigger goals, and that they are moving the needle little by little each and every single day. So those are the main things I would say initially to get you going.
You're absolutely right. This is crucial when we talk about setting routines and creating healthy habits. It requires commitment. And yes, we're going to encounter some difficulty. So, Jose, you're shooting it straight with us here today. Keep doing so. Let us know, why is it that so many individuals, why is it that sometimes we want to do good, want to have a healthy habit, but it just doesn't work out?
Not only in the morning routine, but just like progressing in general. But I'm all about morning and evening routine, so I'm speaking more towards that. One reason is procrastination. Like, how many of us are always like saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and I don't do it for whatever reason? We talk ourselves out of it. There's something called a 5-second rule. And I say it as soon as your alarm goes off and you're supposed to wake up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever that time is for you, you have 5 seconds to put your feet on the floor and get up. Because anything beyond 5 seconds, and you will convince yourself to not do it, and you'll procrastinate, and you'll immediately start your day with a failure, with an L, by hitting snooze. So procrastination is one. Another reason is lack of discipline, inconsistency, doing things 1 or 2 days and then stopping, or say, I'm going to do this for a month, and you do it for a week, and then you take 2 days off. You got to be consistent. Lack of focus, lack of process and routines, excuses. We all suffer from excusitis, I like to call it, right? And that's from The Magic of Thinking Big. Lack of ownership, no ownership. Jocko Willink, in his book Extreme Ownership, he talks about extreme ownership, and we lack ownership a lot of times. The why, we have a weak why. We have no goals, or if we do have goals, they're not clear. They're not using a smarter framework that Michael Hyatt talks about in his book Your Best Year Ever. Super, super important. Broken mindset. We don't have a planner. Low productivity. We're so busy and preoccupied with doing all these things, but we're not really moving the needle. Too much time wasted. Netflix, TV, surfing the internet, hanging out with buddies, playing video games, not doing things that are going to actually make things happen in your life. Poor money management, bad health. You're not in the gym. And it goes back to excusitis. I don't have the time, or I don't know how, or whatever. And my program speaks exactly to those things head on.
I tell you what, Jose, I am amped up right now. Like, I am ready to go and tackle the day and really conquer not just the morning and nighttime routine, but what is ahead. And I know that if I'm amped up, I know that our listeners are also. So for that person that is listening right now and is saying, I want to do it, I want to go headstrong and conquer and have a breakthrough moment, and they want to work with you, Jose, and the awesome program that you provide, how could they get in contact with you?
First of all, the program that I'm doing is for the general audience, I guess you could say, but I specifically work with busy professionals. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're not an entrepreneur and are just, a professional with a career, I can certainly help you. And it's all about systems in place: morning routine, evening routine, the bookends of your day, maximizing your mindset, your health, and your productivity, which will naturally bleed into all the other 10 life domains. I didn't start the morning and evening routine because I thought it was going to, change my life. I thought it was just going to help me in these 3 areas. But naturally, when you improve in these 3 areas, it kind of goes into all the other areas, right? And you just, scale across the board. So with that being said, if anybody wants to become a member of the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf just to get value, and there's no charge to that, then please join it. It's the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf. And you can find it. It's a Facebook group on Facebook, and I'd be happy to have you in there. A great community. You're going to love what's in there. Secondly, you can always shoot me an email. That's jasco25@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you just want to connect, what have you, you can send me a DM on Facebook, Jose Escobar. I know there's a ton of them on there, but I usually go by @JAESCO25. So JAESCO25. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter too, but I don't really use it. I use mainly Facebook and secondary Instagram. And you can check out the website, theentrepreneursbookshelf.com. And that's developing that as we speak. And then lastly, if anybody is interested in exploring how the morning and evening routine mastery can help you elevate your life on a personal and professional level, I'd be happy to set up a no obligation, free strategy session with you, one-on-one, and explore where you're at, where you want to be, what's holding you back. I'll give you some value, and I'll even share with you my program. And if it's a good fit, maybe we could work together. And if it's not a good fit, then it's not a good fit. We'll still be friends.
Jose, thank you so much for being part of the program and providing that awesome strategies. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I want to take this moment to thank everyone who has been connected here today. Thank you. If you found value and insight with the strategies discussed today, check out the show notes for further highlights and helpful links, and consider subscribing to be notified when a new weekly episode is available. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that helps us know that you like this podcast and want more of it. A special thanks to today's guest, and please be sure to follow them for more helpful information. Well, I'll connect with you on the next episode of Strategy Rewind, but in between time and in the meantime, check out MiguelLebron.com, where you'll find free resources. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you shortly.